Hi, I'm Jana van Rooyen, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Thank you for joining us and welcome back. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell if you would like a notification for when we release our new videos. In the studio with me today is Michael. Welcome, Michael.
Morning, Jana. How are you?
Fine, thank you. So yesterday, Clicks had their interim results and their earnings forecast was very conservative. Markets reacted very negatively towards this, but the assumption was based on geopolitical conflict affecting our local economics. Is the market volatility only driven by the war in Iran, or is there something locally that we need to be concerned about?
Yeah, Jana, that's a good question. And I think we're all tired of talking about the war. Every time you think it's a breakthrough, there's not, or there is, or there's not, and the goalposts keep on shifting. But, it's not all about the war. And if we take a step back and just look at some of the bigger picture, there's no doubt that the war has changed the near-term outlook for this country, or for everywhere. I mean, everybody's grappling with high fuel prices. I think there's a 50-50 chance that the Reserve Bank raises interest rates in May rather than cutting them. So yes, there's some short-term issues that are affecting everybody that will weigh on the performance of companies for the next sort of 6 or 9 months. That's unfortunately unavoidable. But longer term, I think we have to take a step back and look at what is really going on. And for the last 10 years, it's all been about this kind of growth pessimism. South Africa's not growing. And we probably since 2021 have been harping on about the reform agenda,
yes.
And I think if we actually take a step back and look at what's happening in this country, apart from the volatility caused by the war, there's actually a few things to get excited about.
So do you think there's then a possibility for our local markets to be re-rated?
Yeah, Jana, I think, if you just think back to the three main pillars of sort of reform, or the energy crisis, the logistics crisis. I mean, the energy crisis has largely been solved. It now moves to the sort of transmission line sort of phase of the project. We're kind of almost in phase 2 of energy reforms. We've got no load shedding. Diesel consumption at Eskom is down like 90%. Can you imagine where we would be if Eskom was still burning diesel at the rate they were 3 years ago? We would be a serious country. We wouldn't be able to find diesel. And so, now we're moving into the phase of building out the national grid. Some of those tenders are starting to go out to market. The National Transmission Company has been promulgated. So, again, I mean, with reforms, nothing seems to happen. It takes a long time. But I think what's maybe the message is that things are chugging along in the background all the time, despite what's going on. Then if we move onto logistics, obviously that's been a disaster. But 2025 was the best year for port and rail in sort of 6 or 7 years. Durban Pier 2 container terminal has been outsourced. Obviously, the company ITC is in there, investing about 12 billion rand in the terminal to get it up to speed. Obviously, the rail slots have been, 41 rail slots have been auctioned off, and we should start seeing private sector trains on the railways probably early in 2027. It's not very far away now. That's only 6 or 7 months away. It's amazing how the months go by. And there's a lot happening in rail. So, I think that this year growth is probably likely going to be disappointing again because of the war, and that's going to be a global thing. It's not just us. But if you look a little bit deeper, that whole bearish, sort of environment that we've been in for so long, where there was just almost no hope, is definitely changing, and South African equities are going to start looking forward to a time when these growth constraints are lessening and setting the economy free. It ties in then with the inflation targeting story that we talked about last year as well. So if you take that story and the opportunity for low interest rates structurally, plus the slightly higher growth that comes through from all these reforms, and they are gaining momentum and they are coming through, then there's definitely opportunity for South African companies to re-rate. And then on top of that, you have the prospect of slightly higher earnings growth because of faster GDP growth, better margins, everything like that, which is then obviously the cherry on top. Yeah.
So maybe for the benefit of the viewers, what have we as asset managers done with the portfolio positioning given the local equities market valuations?
Yeah, so I think you probably have to look at what sectors are really stand to benefit. The whole economy stands to benefit, but mining would definitely benefit because obviously on the logistics side, the electricity side, just everything getting a little bit more efficient. The banks would benefit. Industrial companies that provide services, manufacturing, construction, all those kind of things will start to benefit as this period of really weak growth comes out and there's just slightly better prospects. And we've seen that in construction and things already, but the manufacturing side of the economy should also start to do a little bit better. But Jana, you don't get away from the fact that there's wars, there's tough times, consumers are still under pressure. Obviously, when the economy starts to grow, everything then trickles down and everybody benefits, banks, retailers, the lot. But I think our strategy really has been, and it's been like this for quite a long time, is to invest in companies that have solid moats and that are economically stable and high quality. So we really focus on the cash flows. We really focus on the dividends. We spend a lot of time trying to make sure that is a company's dividend secure? Are they going to cut the dividend? And that really then, if you work back from that, it's looking at the cash flows and the economic value added and things like that, and just making sure that companies can survive the tough times like we're having at the moment. Slightly tougher than what we would have hoped for or expected, but then when the good times come, they're also going to do well. So yes, in the good times you can have some smaller companies shooting the lights out, but actually over a cycle, good companies will always deliver and quality companies. So we're really focusing on that. I mean, Clicks is a quality company. They're still growing. They're not talking about a drop in earnings. They're talking about growth of sort of 5 to 8 or 5 to 9%. In a tough time when you are battling with geopolitical events completely outside of your control, that's not bad. And I think the market is fickle, and the market the market trades every day, but I think sometimes just step back from the noise and focus on the bigger picture, because actually the bigger picture is looking solid. Yeah.
Well, it's nice to know that even with global headwinds, our local tailwinds are starting to pick up speed.
Yeah, it would be nice for them to come through. I mean, maybe it's been delayed by 6. Well, I don't think the reforms have been delayed. Maybe the slight momentum we were hoping for has been partially delayed just by global events. But that is a global issue. But yes, let's watch the space.
Yes. Thank you so much, Michael, for just navigating us through the noise. And thank you for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe. Until next time.